A young girl, just 2 years old, goes missing in the dead of night near her grandparents' house in rural New Hampshire. The family is gathered for a reunion, everyone within earshot, and yet no one notices when she vanishes into thin air. By morning, hundreds of volunteers are combing the woods, calling her name, searching desperately for any sign of her. Days pass, hope dwindles, and then just as suddenly as she disappeared, a miracle occurs. She's found alive on an island of mud in the middle of a swamp, miles away from where she was last seen. But here's the twist. There's no way she could have walked or even crawled that far without leaving a trace. And the water around her? It reaches up to her chest. Yet she's completely dry. Hi everyone! You're listening to Thousand Fragments. The moment no one saw, the memory no one kept. I'm bringing it back. Drop a comment below and let me know where you are today. I'm all ears. And let's begin. It was October 9th, 2010, in Richmond, New Hampshire, a small town nestled deep within the forested hills of the northeastern United States. This wasn't just any day. It was a special occasion for Rowan's family. His grandparents had organized a grand reunion at their home, a cozy single-story house surrounded by dense woods. To get there, visitors drove down a long driveway that wound through towering trees before opening up to a cleared backyard perfect for barbecues and gatherings. The scene was idyllic. Laughter filled the air as adults caught up over drinks, teenagers played football, and children ran wild chasing each other under the golden autumn Sunday. Rowan, only 2 years old, sat happily in the backseat of the car with his siblings as they arrived. Excited to see cousins and relatives he hadn't seen in months, he wasted no time jumping out and joining the chaos. Somewhere along the way, though, something caught his attention, a cat darting through the yard. Rowan loved animals, especially this particular feline who lived at his grandparents' house. Without hesitation, he followed it, giggling as the little creature led him deeper into the woods. Several adults noticed him running after the cat but dismissed it, assuming someone else would keep an eye on him. After all, how much trouble could a toddler get into in such a short time? But Rowan didn't return. Hours passed, and panic set in. His father called out for him, scanning the yard, the house, even the cars parked nearby. Nothing. Then came the dreaded realization. Rowan had gone too far into the woods. With every passing minute, the stakes grew higher. Darkness fell quickly in those parts, and temperatures dropped sharply once the sun disappeared behind the trees. Volunteers armed with flashlights scoured the area, shouting his name into the silence. Local law enforcement arrived soon after, launching a massive search operation involving hundreds of people. ATVs roared through the underbrush, dogs sniffed the ground, and helicopters hovered overhead, their spotlights cutting through the darkness like surgical scalpels. Yet despite their best efforts, nothing turned up. No footprints, no cries for help, no sign of struggle. It was as if the earth itself had swallowed him whole. By morning, the search expanded further. Word spread quickly through the community, drawing in more volunteers eager to lend a hand. Among them were experienced hikers familiar with the terrain, hunters who knew the local wildlife, and parents haunted by the thought of losing their own child so inexplicably. One group decided to venture farther than anyone else, heading toward a swamp located several miles away from the initial search area. The decision seemed odd at first. Why would a toddler wander so far? But desperation breeds creativity. As they trudged through knee-deep mud and tangled vegetation, the reality of the situation began to weigh heavily on them. Every step felt like a betrayal of the innocent life they were failing to find. Then, deep within the swamp, they stumbled upon something extraordinary. Through the thick mist, they spotted what appeared to be children's shoes resting atop a log jutting out of the water. Heart racing, they waded closer, sinking ankle-deep with every cautious movement. When they finally reached the log, they couldn't believe their eyes. There, standing on a tiny patch of dry land, clutching a tree trunk, stood Rowan. He looked unharmed, almost serene, as though he'd been waiting there all along. How did he end up here? That became the million-dollar question. The swamp was nearly 3 miles away from the original location, its waters deep and treacherous. Even if Rowan had somehow managed to navigate the rugged terrain in the dark, how could he have avoided getting wet while standing in the middle of a bog? Investigators questioned him gently, hoping for answers, but Rowan offered only fragments of his experience. "Cows," he whispered repeatedly, his voice trembling. "The cows scared me." Of course, there were no cows anywhere near the swamp. Not even close. Some theorized Rowan might have hallucinated due to exhaustion or fear, while others speculated about supernatural forces guiding him through the wilderness. Regardless of the reason, one thing remained certain. Rowan's survival defied logic. As days turned into weeks, the case gained national attention. Psychologists studied Rowan's behavior, attempting to piece together his memories of that night. Detectives revisited the crime scene, analyzing every detail for clues. Was it possible someone had abducted him and left him in the swamp? If so, why? Why leave him alive, untouched, and miraculously dry? These questions lingered long after the media frenzy subsided, leaving behind a trail of unanswered mysteries. Fast forward to 2023, and technology offers tantalizing possibilities for unraveling secrets long buried. Forensic experts revisit evidence collected during the initial investigation, using advanced DNA analysis and environmental tracking tools. Meanwhile, social media platforms buzz with theories, some credible, others far-fetched, yet all contributing to a global conversation about safety, accountability, and the unknown. Families affected by similar losses gather annually to honor their loved ones, finding solace in shared memories and unwavering determination. "We won't stop fighting," says Linda Hayes during a memorial service held near Richmond. Her voice cracks with emotion, underscoring the personal stakes involved. Now, let's rewind to another case, one eerily similar yet equally perplexing. Geraldine, also just 2 years old, disappeared under bizarre circumstances in the heart of Georgia. Her family was enjoying a quiet evening at their cabin when Geraldine wandered off unnoticed. A frantic search ensued involving neighbors, friends, and eventually law enforcement. They scoured the surrounding woods, checked abandoned buildings, and searched nearby lakes. Days passed, and still, no sign of Geraldine. Hope faded, replaced by despair. Then came the twist. Weeks later, a fisherman stumbled upon skeletal remains near a remote stretch of riverbank roughly 40 miles from the cabin. Initial reports suggested Geraldine had drowned, but inconsistencies in the evidence raised red flags. For instance, traces of sedatives were found in her system, suggesting foul play. Additionally, locals reported seeing strange lights hovering over the area the night she vanished. Could these phenomena hold the key to her disappearance? Or were they merely coincidental anomalies? Detective James Peterson took charge of the case, poring over witness statements and re-examining physical evidence. During interviews, he uncovered unsettling details. One neighbor claimed to have seen a man lurking near the property days before Geraldine went missing. Another described hearing loud noises coming from the woods late at night. Piecing together these accounts, Peterson developed a theory. Geraldine may have fallen victim to someone close to the family, perhaps motivated by jealousy or revenge. However, not everyone agreed with Peterson's conclusions. Emily Carter, a forensic psychologist specializing in childhood trauma, proposed an alternative explanation. What if Geraldine hadn't wandered off alone? What if she encountered something or someone that frightened her into hiding? Carter pointed to cases where young children exhibited heightened awareness of danger, often retreating to secluded areas until help arrived. Could Geraldine have done the same, albeit in a far more extreme manner? Advancements in artificial intelligence provided fresh insights, sifting through thousands of pages of archived material to identify patterns previously overlooked. Brian Carter, A programmer turned self-taught investigator flagged several instances where missing toddlers were discovered in unexpected locations, often miles from where they were last seen. His findings suggested a possible link between Geraldine's case and others across the region. Were we looking at isolated incidents or part of something larger? The atmosphere shifted dramatically as public interest in Geraldine's story grew once again. Social media groups dedicated to solving cold cases attracted thousands of members worldwide, sparking lively debates about potential motives and culprits. Conversations ranged from speculative musings to well-researched arguments supported by data. One member, Amanda Grant, gained prominence when she identified striking similarities between Geraldine's disappearance and other unsolved cases involving young children in Georgia during the same period. Her work prompted authorities to explore connections previously dismissed as coincidental. Yet, despite these advances, fundamental questions remain unanswered. Who or what drove Geraldine so far from home? Why was she found in such a remote location? And most hauntingly, why did she appear untouched, despite traveling such a great distance? These mysteries weigh heavily on those closest to the case. Detective Peterson finds himself haunted by dreams of shadowy figures whispering riddles he cannot solve. Emily Carter spends sleepless nights researching obscure archives, searching for patterns others might have missed. Even casual observers feel drawn into the vortex of uncertainty surrounding this infamous tragedy. As 2023 dawned, researchers announced they had decoded messages embedded in artwork created by key suspects during their incarceration. Using sophisticated image recognition software, analysts identified recurring themes tied to specific locations and dates corresponding to known crimes. This revelation suggested the suspect may have left deliberate clues intended to taunt authorities even beyond the grave. Was he playing games right up until the end? Emily Carter asks during a private meeting with colleagues. Her voice cracks slightly, betraying exhaustion mixed with awe at the complexity of their subject. At the same time, advancements in AI offer unprecedented opportunities for analyzing large datasets related to Geraldine's case. Programs developed by Brian Carter sift through countless pages of archived material, flagging patterns previously overlooked by human eyes. His findings suggest possible ties between Geraldine's disappearance and broader criminal networks operating throughout Georgia during the early 2000s. Are we looking at isolated incidents or part of something larger? Brian asks during a live Q&A session, drawing nods of agreement from participants. And so, the legend of Geraldine persists not merely as a relic of the past, but as a testament to human resilience in the face of incomprehensible evil. For every answer uncovered, new questions arise. For every step forward, obstacles loom large. Yet through it all, one truth remains clear. The quest for understanding transcends generations, binding us together in our shared desire for peace and resolution. So, next time you walk through your neighborhood, take a moment to observe the faces around you. Who knows what secrets lie beneath the surface? Remember, while stories like Geraldine's may terrify us, they also remind us of our capacity to overcome adversity. Because in the end, it isn't the darkness that defines us, it's how we choose to respond to it. Do you think Geraldine's case will ever be fully solved? Or does its identity remain forever shrouded in darkness? Let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts matter, and they shape the stories I share next. So go ahead, type it out, and hit send. I'll see you there. And that was another story lost in time. But stay with me, because there's still more waiting in the shadows.